Right. So I'm back. I'm back from vacation. I've been gone off and on for a little while, but it's been a little while since I've gotten some good solo fighting in Eve as well. So I've kind of put off making a video because I don't really want to do a lot with just little fights here and there. I just want to continue doing these videos where I'm taking these fights I've gotten mono e mono or 1v10 or whatever and talk through them because I think they're interesting from an analytical perspective and hopefully they're interesting for the people who watch these videos. Hopefully that's why you're watching right now. That being said, recently my alliance has made a little excursion into nullsec, so we have been doing a lot of stuff in nullsec, and thought I've thought about that as an opportunity to try some new things. In this particular case, on a new, well, not new account, on one of my uh, alt accounts. This is basically just I'm basically just flying a 10 MN Confessor, which was very popular back before the Tech 3 destroyers got nerfed. This was maybe a year or so ago, and so it was popular then. It became less popular because it was a lot harder to fit these ships. But I've always had a sort of fascination with them, especially after I'd seen a couple of videos on YouTube with them. I'll actually link some in the uh, video description here. So I've taken these confessors out with this character, and the oversized prop mod makes them incredibly powerful for just a variety of things. They allow you to chase down certain targets. You're not as fast as you would be with a micro warp drive, but you're a lot harder to hold down by anybody because the extra uh, speed you're getting from the afterburner can't be shut off with a scram. And if you're being webbed by like a frigate or by an equally sized ship, you're still your afterburner is putting out a lot more power than than these types of ships normally would, as far as momentum is concerned. So you can, if you're not liking the fight, you can usually burn away from it. If you really want to get the fight, hold a target down, you can usually hold a target down. I used one of these to tackle a Loki recently that we were killing off, that was trying to kill off one of our VNIs that was riding in our space. So I just warped to the Loki, held it down, and the VNIs just proceeded to kick the crap out of it. So they're fun ships. They're gonna be versatile, and I'm looking forward to flying more of them. Onto the fight at hand. I'm just gonna start playing the video. It's gonna be about 14 minutes because this was quite a tank fest. Um, So I was roaming around in Cloud Ring here, looking for some fights. There's a bunch of guys in this system, but most of them were either docked up or ratting or just generally inaccessible. So I move on to the next system. In the next system, there is an Onyx sitting here on the gate at 0, and as soon as I jump in, I see him bubble. He's clearly looking for a fight. That's what that's telling me. He wants to just catch me and try to kill me. So I check his ship name, check DScan, and I quickly check Zkill to figure out whether I can either A, escape with the 10 MN, or B, just brawl him down. Now, I don't remember if I noticed this on Zkill at first, but his Onyx it was a Fury missile fit, so he had pretty bad application during this fight, which is probably what I would attribute most to why he wasn't able to kill me. So uh, that mental note, plus the fact that he is ancil fit, uh, ancil shield tanked, tells me that if I manage to fight him long enough, I could probably win. So I decide to take the fight, at least entertain the fight for a little bit. So I burn straight at him here in speed mode with my prop on, just close that distance. And as soon as I get into range where my inertia can kind of carry me towards him, I switch to tank mode. Probably didn't need to do it that soon because it doesn't give you any benefit in armor. And I kind of slingshot past him a little bit there, so he's pulling range pretty hard right now. And what I suspect he was doing here was he was trying to pull me off of the gate so that if I did want to disengage, I wouldn't be able to. You'll also notice that I'm messing up. Here, I'm going to pause it for a second. There's a couple of things that well, the thing I did wrong there that I'm not used to is I didn't switch to a different type of crystal in my lasers. That's something I'm still adjusting to, is the laser ranges, but it didn't really make much of a difference this early on in the fight. So he's pulling away, and I'm kind of sort of losing interest. I don't really know what he's trying to do apart from just not fight me. So I'm trying to I'm torn here. I'm deciding whether I want to stay near the gate or not, but I decide that I just want to go out and fight him. So I just burn straight at him again. Well, after aligning for a little bit, I think I was just trying to pick a direction there. He starts coming back into me, though. That, I guess, was the important bit here. So he's maybe gotten me a little bit off gate, but he comes back in for whatever reason. I think maybe to web me down some more. But he's close range again, so now I just start orbiting him and managing my modules. So this ship is, as you can see, it's dual small armor repair fit plus a Nosferatu in the highs. So there's just kind of a random utility slot, and I decided to put a Nos there. Um, so as I'm shooting at this guy, like I hug him close here. I try to hug him close, and I'm using standard right now to try to make sure that I'm hitting him as the ranges keep bouncing around. I'm also trying to focus on my tank here, which I was kind of eating it for a little bit there. Not sure why my HP is sitting where it's at right now, but it's generally not too bad. And you'll see me heat my cap booster here and use it to get the most out of it. That's a thing to know. Things that are, I think in this, I can't remember offhand if it's, you either get a shorter cycle time for the reload or you get a little more cap out of it. I think it's just the reload on that. But so I just heat it. It's not gonna burn my mods that much, and it makes sure that I still have cap when I need it. So I'm still cycling both of my uh, my reppers right now, but I'm starting to get a little closer to topped off. So after a little bit here, I turn one of the reppers off, and all the all the while I'm doing this, I'm orbiting him. So it's a pretty easy thing here. What I'm doing, I'm orbiting him at 500. He's a cruiser, so he's not going to be too difficult to actually hit with my frigate guns. So I'm not too concerned about tracking. Uh, I have him scrammed. I have him nos, and those are both. I'm within a kilometer, so those are both, doing well. My afterburner's active, and I'm kind of keeping some speed up. And so at this point, right now, with just myself, him, and some other random guy in local, it's just a matter of module management. And in this case, it sort of dips into cap management because I'm using a lot of capacitor based stuff here. But what I'm doing while I'm managing basically just these three mods is I'm also watching local and dscan for any sort of spikes. So I'm watching dscan. I saw that magnate come in, and I'm also uh, looking for other pilots in his corp just because I don't want to get uh, blob, you know, not blobbed, but I don't any sort of we've kind of struck this balance in this fight here. So any sort of plus ones in the fight, like third parties, even if they're friends of his, are going to kind of throw that balance out of whack. I pause it here because I wanted to take note. I had not been taking any damage for a little while here, just a couple of seconds. So what that means is his weapons, whichever systems he's fit with, which are I think they were heavy assault missiles, they're in reload now. So I take advantage of that. I heat my lasers and I switch to sharpshooter mode until I start taking more damage, and then I switch back to tank mode. So this is just to put a little extra pressure on his shields. So see there, he's turned off his disruptor for some reason. Not exactly sure why. He's starting to burn away a little bit, so I approach him. All the while, I'm just making sure that I'm just trying to keep him within range of the stuff I'm trying to hit him with. So whatever reason he pulled that little bit of range, I was switched over to speed mode, but now I'm switched back to tank mode. And he's going down a little more now, just little bits here and there. Another cap booster. I'm letting my, well, it's not a big problem right now, but I'm letting my cap, or my armor repper run a little over. Like I'm not that damaged right now, so I really should just, yeah, I decycle it there. Uh, because he's not really doing anything to me. He starts pointing me up again, uh, and starts hitting me again. So now we kind of switch. Oh, we're back into that little swing of things here. Okay, so you'll notice a couple of things are happening here. I turned off my prop mod. I think I had been toying around with the idea of turning it off to conserve cap here, but I immediately do a 180 on that as soon as I see this Taranis decloak. Because, going back to what I said before, I'm not interested at all in a third party fight. I'm interested in this one on one because I really, really, really want to see if I can kill an Onyx with a 10 MN Confessor, which I probably would have ended up. Um, but uh, unluckily for me, this Tyrannus decloaks. So I know that if I have him and the Onyx on me, that's going to break that equilibrium that I've sort of struck. And so I need to make sure that I get the Tyrannus off as off of me as quickly as possible. So the Tyrannus burns right into me here, straight at me. He micro warp drives. You see him just fly at me. I lock him up, and I switch over. I think I switched over to was firing standard at the Onyx, so I'm still orbiting the Onyx, but now I approach the Tyrannus here, and I just hit him with everything. I switch all my stuff over to him, just so I can make sure that I kill him. Um, I start cycling both reppers because I need to make sure that I'm not gonna die. But the Tyrannus was shield tanked, and he's going down pretty quickly. This right here would have been. You'll notice I'm heating all of these three. I'm heating the damage so I can kill a Tyrannus off because I really, again, really, really, really don't want it on the field. And I'm heating my tank because with both of them applying DPS, the Tyrannus at this point is probably applying as much DPS to me as the Onyx was. So I'm that's concerning. So regardless, I focus on burning him down. The Onyx had a chance to bail right there. He could have warped off, let the Tyrannus kind of sacrificially tackle me and keep me busy, but he doesn't bail. I maybe there wasn't good communication between the two. Maybe they thought that they could just both kill me. Whatever happened happened. So now I'm switching back over to the Onyx, and I'm trying to approach him. This thing turns like a like a carrier. That's why I've got this EFF here, but so it turns pretty slowly. Uh, but I imagine to catch back. I manage to catch back up to him, and we kind of resume the same old song and dance we were doing before. I'm trying to orbit him at 500 in defense mode, and running whatever I need to maintain my ship while putting DPS on his. Uh, so same old song and dance. We do this for a little while longer, so I'm just gonna continue commenting. Uh, I did check one of his kill mails, and he still had a fair number of. You'll notice I switched over to conflag there. I'm within range to apply that kind of damage to him now. So I'm also sort of screwing up right now. I've been talking about cap issues with the ship, and yet you see me here. I think I let both of these reppers run for like, well, maybe not just yet, but at some point here I let them both kind of run and uh, waste some cap. But the let's see, yeah, I checked his kill mail, and he still had a fair number of cap boosters in the kill mail that I saw, but the I'm not really eating through them too fast myself either. I'm going through them pretty quickly, but I think at this point in the fight I've only gone through about half of them, and I actually, oh yeah, I checked that right here. Uh, so I have 11 cap boosters left, which is quite a bit. Uh, so it's just a matter of me trying to manage cap, trying to manage DPS output. I turn off my. So this is another thing, another interesting thing about the 10MN. I was doing. I'm gonna step it back just a tad here. All right, I'm doing 170-ish meters a second with this Confessor in defense mode. Defense mode gives me like a 43 meter sig radius. So 170 meters a second, 43 meters. I think the Onyx only applies about maybe 100 DPS with the Furies at that speed. Here, I decided that I wanted to see if it would improve my cap life if I turned my prop off. Like maybe I could continue to sig tank it a little bit just because I'm so small. But I realize that that extra 60, 70 meters a second was helping quite a bit there. So that was just one idea though, and here we have another uh, challenger arrives, another challenger joins the fray, however this saying goes. Um, so we have an Ishtar appear on field. I can maybe fight the Onyx and a frigate. I cannot fight the Onyx and a Tech 2 cruiser. So, especially an Ishtar that's probably fit with full DPS for like ratting. So I he's not on field yet. He undocked from probably the station here. So I'm just kind of poking around, seeing what I'm getting here. I am heating my tank because I haven't realized yet that the well, I probably had, but the prop was mitigating a lot of damage. So at this point, things are looking kind of bleak for my ship's overall health. And if this had continued to be a one-on-one, I probably would have beaten the Onyx. But this Ishtar arrives. I am very uninterested in fighting an Ishtar and an Onyx, so I switch to speed mode, I overheat my prop, and I double click away in space to pull as much range as possible. And you'll see, even though I'm webbed, going back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, even though I'm webbed and uh, warp disrupted, whatever, uh, I still managed to pull a ridiculous amount of range in a ridiculous amount of time, considering I'm afterburner fit. So I unheat my prop. I start trying to rep my modules up, and this is uh, So this is basically the end of the fight. The Ishtar's ogres are going to chase me for a little while, and I decide that I could continue to have a little bit of fun if I shot at them. So I switch over to, I think, radio crystals and wait for them to get within range. But then, a Brutix appears now too, so there's a battle cruiser thrown into the mix. And I don't think my radio can hit very far. I don't want so I'm poking around with the ranges. I think this was I saw it in the tooltip. I think it was yeah. So with radio, oh no, that's Scorch, not radio. Whatever. Um, I thought about switching to sharpshooter mode to shoot at the drones, but then I realized that the drones are kind of sort of matching my speed. I might still switch. I don't remember. But the drones are kind of matching my speed, and there's a 10-second like switch over time between modes, so there's a chance that I could have like hit that, and then that would have given the Ishtar 10 seconds to just wail on me with ogres, which would not have been fun. So I just kind of he pulls drones though, and this is this is the end of the fight now. So I start chatting them up in local a little bit, and I I linger a little bit here. I think I rep some of my modules, like the armor repper, and then I deploy some on-grid combat probes just so that if any other small stuff like the Taranis warps in, I can I can just warp to them. I get scans on them and warp to them. They're pretty useful that way. So those are out. A little bit of chatting in local, and in a second here I'll probably start repping up my armor repper with nanite stuff. It looks like in local, it looks like he was under the impression that I was running an ancil armor repper, but I wasn't. I was just dual rep it. And ancil, so we've seen them on the hook bills and everything. Ancils have a lot of upfront armor repair, but very little after all the charges run out. So with a ship like this, you have enough buffer like to give yourself time for the two reps to or for the two reppers to cycle. So there's a little more flexibility in tanking here, which is another nice thing about it. This Confessor I think only does about 200 DPS, which is very little for a destroyer, but it does a lot with that. Like there's a lot of versatility built into the ship, so I really like it for that. Uh, let me. Thought I had the bit over here. Just pulling it up so I can reference it. Uh, Here we go. So in defense mode, I can tank 192 DPS with cold reppers. Uh, I assume that's with the cap booster running. Yeah. And then in offense mode, let me see here. Tactical sharpshooter. So sharpshooter with conflag, we'll say max DPS, 322 damage. But with fights like this, you end up having to spend a lot of your time in defense mode. So 240 DPS with this pilot's skills, 246 with max. It's kind of what I'd look at. So that was the fight overall. It was a lot of fun. The 10MN Confessor still shows a lot of promise, even if it's not as powerful as it was back in the day. I never actually got to fly it the way it was fit back in the day, but it's again still a load of fun. So that's uh that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoyed the hopefully you enjoyed the fight. Hopefully you learned something. Have a good one.